You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, also available on Apple, Spotify, and now YouTube. I'm Kyah Ann, your host and a yogi, and I am on my spring break right now, and I am still here with you guys because I am dedicated, I'm devoted, and that will make sense by the end of the episode. But I have a lot in store for you guys today. Of course, I have yoga news where I talk about what's going on in the world, how it relates to yoga controversies, yoga heals, where I bring on a very special guest and talk to them about their practice and the power of yoga, and the weekly wellness challenge where I have been following the 8 limbs of yoga. Before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. Let's take this moment to go inward, to focus on our breath, focus on our prana. Prana translating to breath, as in the breath of life. Our life energy force are many translations. Prana has many translations, but let's focus on it. The very basic component of life. Let's focus on it. Let's focus on our breath. So no matter where you're at, whether you are in your car, you're on a walk, you're sitting on your couch, you're laying in your bed, whatever you're doing, begin to lengthen out your spine. If you're sitting down, come into your sit bones, create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to your crown. If you're standing, ground your feet, and again, create that line of energy. And if you're laying down, just lengthen out your spine so breath can effortlessly move through you. Bring awareness to your entire body, into your senses. What do you taste? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you feel? Get present in the moment, if it's safe to do so. Soften your gaze or close your eyes. Lifting up your chest, sitting up nice and tall. Roll your shoulders up and back. Squeezing your shoulder blades together. And take a deep inhale through your nose, right into your belly, through your rib cage, all the way up to your chest. And hold at the top. And take an even longer exhale, like and push out all the breath. Leave nothing. And hold at the bottom. Inhale through your nose, filling all the way, letting the breath travel upward to the crown of your head. And hold. And take a nice long exhale with a sigh, letting the breath leave in a downward motion, expelling everything. And with me, take one more deep, smooth inhale through the nose, again filling all the way up, letting your belly inflate, and exhale to push it all out, deflating your belly and emptying out completely. And hold at the bottom. Let your breath come back to a steady rhythm, relaxing your body fully, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your hips if there's tension there, relaxing your face, your jaw, your eyebrows. If your tongue is stuck on the roof of your mouth, relaxing your tongue, letting it fall. And I am centered. Let's get on with the show. Yoga news. This week's yoga news. March 29th is National Mom and Pop Business Owners Day. And even though today is Saturday, the day that this is airing, I wanted to talk about this because as a person that comes from a family business, and I just know so many small business owners, and then for the fact that in yoga there's a lot of small business owners, I think that this should be talked about. I just wanted to take this moment to encourage everyone to go to a local yoga studio and to support them, because it's Mom and Pop Business Owners Day. And even if they're not owned by a mom and pop, just the fact that they're a small business, we need to support these small businesses. If you're looking for some yoga studios to go to in Chicago or St. Louis, then follow me on Instagram at consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah, and I will actually post some yoga studios that you can go and support if you're in the Chicago or St. Louis area. Google exists, so Google it, find a studio you want to support, and go support it. Next! The other thing I wanted to talk about is March 30th, which is National Take a Walk in the Park Day. Also thought this was a good day to talk about because, you should observe taking a walk. And then you can also practice yoga while doing this. You can simultaneously yoke your mind, body, and spirit while going on a walk. Amazing. Being present in the moment, tuning into your body, practicing self-awareness. Yoking the mind, body, and spirit is actually very complex the more and more I'm learning about it. But you can still practice it while walking. So I encourage everybody to go on a walk. Definitely, especially for depression, let's end this seasonal depression for once. So, but it definitely will help just to boost your mood, boost your mental health, boost your physical health. Next, human brains are getting bigger. Here's why that's good news. Yeah, so I just found this article somewhere, which, by the way, I will link everything I'm talking about in the show notes. So if you want to see the articles or like the study that I read or whatever, I will put it in the show notes. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But the surface area of a modern brain is around 15% larger than in the 1930s. Brains are getting bigger over time, which has been the common story if you ever learn anything about evolution or whatever you think about that. But generally the consensus is our brains have been getting bigger over time. And this article is just talking about the larger brain in relationship to these cognitive diseases like dementia, Alzheimer's, and how people having larger brains now might be beneficial for long-term health, and people might be able to combat these cognitive diseases and maybe hopefully avoid them because there's just so much unknown about them. And it just seems like there's really no cure. Like people are kind of, once they start losing their mind, they're gone. And that's great. But it prompted some questions in me. I'm like, why are people's brains getting larger? We do have a lot working against us, but we are so resilient. Anyways, that's the yoga news. It was good talking about that. I'll have to link everything in the show notes. Yoga heals. This week's guest, Kathleen Rose. She graduated with a Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy, and she's deeply studied psychology. She's been practicing yoga for almost 13 years, and she started with a home practice and went on to study under many great yoga teachers. She has a total of 500 teacher training hours under her belt when it comes to yoga. She's taken a deep interest in mudras, mantras, chakras, shadow work, sound healing, etc. And her goal is to combine her union training, yoga, and Kundalini practices. Yeah, I met Kathleen in my teacher training, and I have great things to say about her. So let's just get on with the interview. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for coming on to the Perfect Prana show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Kyah. It's so good to see you in your element.
I say let's just get right into the real question that I ask every single guest, which is, when did you start practicing yoga? Why do you still practice yoga today?
So first off, thank you so much for having me, Kyah. That's so sweet of you to ask me to be part of this. I love that we have this in common. Our yoga practices. 2010. And I started in my home. I just started doing yoga from videos, anything I could really get my hands on. At the time, it was CDs. I was practicing from CDs. Yeah, that's how I got started in it. And it fed me, it fed my soul. And it's probably the only place that I feel at home in my body. So it's the reason why I still practice.
What drew you into yoga?
That it helped me get in touch with myself, like in a whole new way. So I felt stronger in my body, being able to do certain poses, and it felt peaceful. So at the same time that it was difficult and hard, there was an ease and a flow to it. So I guess those two things are what drew me in. Before then, I was doing lots of cardio, working out, but I really never felt a level of ease in my body and then also building strength at the same time. So that was unusual, having those two.
I definitely can see how you feel that way, honestly, because before I started seriously getting into my yoga practice, I also had a background with like super hardcore working out. And it's nice and it has its place and it's good. Like, okay, I can do hard things. But with yoga, I have experienced that feeling of ease that you talk about, but you still feel strong at the same time. But you might surprise yourself where it's like, I just did this and it felt easy, but my alignment, everything felt correct. Nothing's really hurting, or it's a powerful experience.
It's hard to capture that and to really kind of put it in a capsule, because it feels like almost like a drug for me. Like when I take it, I feel so elated when I get to that place of it's hard, but it's easy at the same time. Because I don't know if that makes sense.
I guess my next question for you was kind of when you began to practice yoga, did you see that impact your life in general outside of yoga, with your job or with your relationships? Could you talk a little bit about that?
I think probably the biggest impact on my yoga practice was the teaching that I've had along the way. So the instructors that I've had have helped me formulate a philosophy to life through my yoga practice. So one of the things that they taught me was how you show up on your mat is how you show up in life. And so I learned how the dedication that I had to my own self and to my own practice was how that accumulated over time, was that I started to show up differently. I was more dedicated to my work and to my relationships, because even though things were hard, I found it more easy. I don't know if that would be the word, but I found it more relationships and the things in my life that I could ease into them a little bit more, given how I was. Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, good. No, to me, what it sounds like is that, it's not that anything got easier necessarily, but maybe you just got stronger. That's like a common thing. Like life it does not get easier. Everything is hard, but we just get the strength and the durability to deal with
Yes.
this thing called life.
Endurability. I think that is a really good term. I know you said durability, but I think it was thinking about that. The endurability, being able to endure difficult things. When you're holding poses, sometimes you think, I don't think I can endure this level of pain, but it actually, it changes something in the brain. Something changes in the brain that where you can hold a pose longer than what you think you can. And so then I started to go through my life like that. I know that I'm capable of dealing with this. I can endure this.
That is relatable. And I used to feel like that with any type of movement, but yoga does bring just a different aspect for me, just because it offers like a self-awareness and kind of makes you scan your body, like give yourself physical therapy, basically. See, like if this is actually causing you pain, maybe something needs to be switched around or changed, or like, so that's something that I just appreciate about yoga.
I agree with you 100%. That's what also got me into it, was the idea that when you're holding a pose and something does hurt, that there are other micro muscles that aren't developed yet, but that you can actually lean into those and develop them, these like little micro muscles that can help support that pose. And so what I realized through my teachers is that I can develop other muscles that will help lengthen or support me. So that was really cool when I discovered that piece.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for sharing with us all about therapy and just how you approach psychology from the Eastern perspective and chakras and egos. So what I ask every guest before we part ways is to just lead us through a quick pranayama practice of your choice. So
maybe we can just gently close our eyes, become more aware of our bodies, grounding through our sit bones, lifting from the crown of our head upward, coming into a more neutral spine. Shoulders are relaxed, taking in a full, deep inhale. Holding at the top of our inhale. And then exhaling and release. Holding at the bottom of our exhale. Taking in a full breath, filling up our lungs. You can take in a little bit more. Hold at the top. And then releasing it all. You can gently open your eyes. Namaste.
thank you. Namaste, Kathleen. Thank you so much. You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, Saturdays at 10 a.m., Sundays at 9 a.m., also available on Apple and Spotify and YouTube, where I post extended versions. Follow me on Instagram at Consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. Weekly Wellness Challenge. Last week's challenge, I honestly could not pronounce the Sanskrit for it, which is funny. And, you know, I really try to with everything, but this one just, it wasn't working for me. I'll still have to practice or ask some people. But it was about studying, self-study, and I challenged you all to read some text, some self-help text and articles, something to help you evolve, become a better person, and to write about what you read. So basically like comprehension, you know, all that stuff. Did I do that? Yes, I actually did. And at the very last moment, I literally did it before I started recording so I could say that I did it. And honestly, I have no shame. Enough about that. We're on to the new weekly wellness challenge. This week's wellness challenge, Ishvara Pranidhana, which is to surrender, to devote, to... There's a few translations, but you remember how I said it'll make sense by the end of the episode? Well, this is where it's coming in. I just said I was devoted to the show. And I am, because I'm devoted to yoga in general. Like, I truly believe. Again, it translates to, we'll just say to surrender or to devote. A lot of times there's to God in there, to the higher power, or to the divine, which is really interesting to think about. And I feel like that's an important piece, because I feel like to say to surrender is too vague, because the thing is we can surrender to weaknesses at times, and that can be harmful. We don't want to harm ourselves. Like, no harming. You know, we want to be non-harming, which is another part of yoga philosophy. But back to surrendering. We don't want to surrender to weaknesses. And I was just thinking about this today, because in our yoga practice, And in life in general, when we move about in the world, we have habits, we have weaknesses, we have movements or just ways that we operate out of laziness. And we don't want to surrender to that. It could be with lifting something up. My dad always used to say to me when I pick up something heavy as a kid, use your legs. When you pick it up, use your legs instead of using your arms, using all your upper body strength to pick something up, because that's dangerous. You could throw your shoulder out. You could throw your back out doing that. But if you use your legs, pick it up with good form, like you're squat down and get it and pick it up, that's just so much more powerful and so much more safe for your body. A lot of us have lazy habits where we don't use our legs. That's just one example, but it could be, I might put my weight on one side of my body, or it might be the way that I sit. Most of us, we're sitting down, we're looking at our phones, we're looking at the computer constantly, our shoulders are rounded, we're just in the habit of slumping all the time. Sometimes you have to use your strength in your core, your upper body, to lift up your chest and stand up straight. Be upright. We have a lot of habits as we go on in this world, so we don't want to surrender to that. And I honestly feel that a yoga practice or a physical therapy practice in a self-awareness practice is important, so you can become aware of those things to help us not be so prone to injury or disease and suffering. We don't want to surrender to the weakness. So I'm like, when it says surrender, I'm like, I feel like I need the God after. I need to surrender to God. I need to surrender to the divine or to whatever, you know what I'm saying? But to the higher power. And to me, part of that is surrendering to the natural laws of life. There are certain things that in this life we just need, like to live a good life. You just need, like, it's just cause and effect. Like if you put good fuel in, it's gonna run good. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to surrender to our need for food. And if you don't, eventually you're just gonna crash and burn. We have to surrender to our need for sleep, because if you don't sleep, crash and burn. To our need for water, crash and burn. We have to surrender to the natural laws of life. And one of those is movement and correct movement. So we even have to surrender to correctly moving and being upright, or else we'll just crash and burn. Again, injuries, disease, suffering. But there's a few ways to think about surrendering. And there was actually something that I read online that was interesting. It was like, because when I was like, what should we do for this niyama? There was this quote. It says, "We don't do surrendering; it does us." So more so, like, because when you surrender something, again, it's almost like trusting the process. Trusting the process or trusting the law. Surrender to your needs, to your natural needs. Don't deny yourself of your natural needs or go against yourself. Like, surrender to it. It's your need. You innately need that. But I find that in a yoga practice, it's about doing something with ease. Like, yeah, I'm focused and I'm challenging myself, but when I'm doing this and I correct my form, I do it with ease, because when I'm upright and I have correct form in my yoga practice, it feels good. But when that's not the case, it does not feel good. Sometimes surrendering in a yoga practice is meeting your body where it's at. So if your hamstrings are so tight, you show up to a yoga practice, the teacher's like, okay, let's do the splits. You with tight hamstrings, you're probably gonna need to stay in a half split. You're not gonna go all the way down. You could try to force yourself to go all the way down, but it's gonna be painful. It's gonna be hard. You might hurt yourself. So you need to surrender to where you're at right now and be with that half split. Breathe in that. Surrender to where you are in this moment. Meet yourself where you're at. Kind of like you're gonna do the best that you can. maybe you'll never reach that full split, in air quotes, because that's a whole different topic. But maybe you'll never reach your idea of the full posture. Even if you don't, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't practice it. Like, just surrender to it, still do it, but meet yourself where you're at. And maybe if you keep practicing, trust the process. Maybe if you keep practicing, maybe one day you will get to your ideal full posture, but you can't really control that. Like, you can't really, maybe you're just predisposed to super tight hamstrings that barely loosen up. And so what? That doesn't make you any worse or any less of a person or whatever the case is. But with that being said, surrendering is about only focusing on the things that you can control and doing things with ease. So I wanted to make this into the weekly wellness challenge. The weekly wellness challenge is to make a list of all that you can control. It could be right now in this present moment in your day in life, but the things that you can actually control. You don't even have to know how to control these things, but just know that these are the things that you can control. This is what you can control. We'll figure out the how later, but gaining that awareness of what you can control. I don't know, just be realistic with yourself about the things that you can control and focus on those things. What can you control right now? I can't control the fact that I can't go into this full split, right? But I can control the fact right now that I practice this half split right now. All about surrendering, all about letting go of control. Surrender to the higher power, surrender to the laws of nature, not to weaknesses, not to harmful habits. Before I go, let me leave you with a quote. I got this quote from my sister. She actually took a picture of it when she was recently in New Orleans, and I was like, I like that quote, or we discussed it a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I'm inspired. I'm going to use it for my show. It's something that I have examined. The quote is, "The river of time flows into the ocean of eternity." And at first I was like, huh? And let's put this in the context of surrendering, honestly, because some people say that we have a short time on Earth, and that's all up for debate. Who knows how long we have on Earth? Who knows how long that each of us have in our own individual lives? It may be a really long time. I'd like to be optimistic, but who knows, right? Ultimately, we have this time that flows into the ocean of eternity. Our time may end, the river may end, but the ocean is vast. It's going to go into this ocean and be here forever. And to me, in the ocean would be our legacy. Like, our life ends, but our legacy might not end. There's so much that we have access to now, to where the person that wrote this has been dead and gone so long ago, but we still have their legacy. So again, in the context of surrendering, I know that my time will end, but let me try to sow good seeds now and have good, nice, clean, pure water now, or however you want to look at that, so that my legacy, that when it goes into this vast ocean, that it can live on, because the goal is to live. I love life. Anyways, that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX. Also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, where I will be posting an extended version. I will say, the light and darkness in me sees the light and darkness in you. Namaste.